Hello and welcome once again to Dad's Desk. This is Rusty. For this tutorial, we will now code the Save button to insert, using an SQL command, that new record into our database. For this one, we'll just go ahead and double-click on Save, and we'll put in a prompt basically that says something like adds a new record into the database. I'll say uses an SQL statement to add a new record. There we go. And I will tell you that this is not going to work perfectly, but it is something that we can fix, and so it's good to kind of have some issues with things as we go along in programming, right? First thing I want to do is say dimension dt as a new data table. And the SQL statement is kind of a long one. It's the bulk of this one. We want to take the contents of those three fields, customer number, first name, and last name, and use those contents and insert those into our database. So for that, we'll say str data source equals double quotes insert into, and again, I like to have my SQL commands in all capital letters, a spacebar. The table will be my customer table, and I want to insert the values, spacebar, double quote, spacebar, ampersand, spacebar, underscore, and I like to do this. Some people like to keep the command all on one single line and just scroll over to the right. I like to break it up so it makes it a little bit easier to read for me and to find any errors. Then we'll come in and we'll say, all right, double quotes, open parentheses, and then we kind of need to escape out and get the contents of what's in those three fields. So I do a single quote, then a double quote, a spacebar, ampersand, spacebar. Make sure you get spacebars before and after the ampersand, because sometimes in some versions it might treat that ampersand, or want to treat the ampersand, as a shortcut key. me.txt cusno.text spacebar, ampersand, spacebar, double quote, single quote, then comma, spacebar. We need the comma, spacebar because we're going to have another field, and that's what separates those out. Then a double quote, spacebar, ampersand, spacebar, underscore, enter. Then again, double quote, single quote, double quote, spacebar, ampersand, spacebar, me.txt fname.text, spacebar, ampersand, spacebar, double quote, single quote, comma, spacebar, double quote, spacebar, ampersand, spacebar, underscore, bingo. And for the last field, then double quote, single quote, double quote, spacebar, ampersand, spacebar, me.txt lname.text, spacebar, ampersand, spacebar, double quote, single quote, no comma, spacebar, because again, we don't have any additional fields, or we do not have any additional fields. So we finish with the closing parentheses and a double quote. Very, very good. And then we'll just come down here, a little blank line to separate things out, and scroll up a bit. We'll say dimension data adapter as new OLEDB.OLEDB data adapter, parentheses, str data source, comma, CONN str1, close parentheses. Okay, then dt.accept changes, open close parentheses, data adapter dot fill, parentheses, dt, data adapter dot update, parentheses, dt, data adapter dot dispose, open closed parentheses, and then we'll get an extra blank line there because we want to reset the form, open close parentheses. Now, in order for this to display, we have to, in a sense, reload everything, and this is where we're going to have some issues, as you will see. So I'm going to call frm customer underscore load. So here I'm going to say frm customer underscore load, parentheses, sender, comma, e. Okay, now that's going to work. However, let's run this. It's not going to work perfectly, not the way that we want anyway. So I'm going to, and it doesn't matter where we are in the database, I'm going to click on Add. It's going to say, all right, 1028 is my new one. I'm going to say Brock Lee, and I'm going to click on Save. Now, if I go to the last record, bingo, there's Brock Lee, everything loaded. Go to the first record, but notice, start clicking on Next, and as we scroll through the numbers, we get to 1025, 1026, 1027, and then it's back to 0. Now, if I continue clicking on next, eventually I get 26, 27, 28. So what's happened is I have the list, I have my database entries in there twice, only the last time is the latest one. Well, I don't want that. That's not going to work the way that I want. I need to refresh, clean everything out, and put it back in. I don't want my data in there twice because that would make searching kind of difficult, and it loads up things twice as much as what they need to be. So how are we going to fix that? Well, we're going to come down here. First off, I'm going to just take that command out, and I'm going to create a new method down here that will, in a sense, refresh everything. I'm going to reload my database. So after the end sub, but before the end class, I'm going to say private sub reload database. There, open close parentheses, and we'll say reloads the database. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm going to say str data source equals double quotes select asterisk from, in fact, customer. Now I could do that, but you know what I'm going to do? Just to save time and everything, I'm going to scroll up to my form customer underscore load, that command way up here, and I'm just going to copy paste everything. Now I could ultimately in the end call this method from here if I wanted to. So I'm going to take that line in FRM customer underscore load. I'm just going to scroll down to the end if statement, not the end sub. After I get that highlighted, I'll just do a Control C to copy. And I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom to my reload database, and I don't need that command in there twice, so I'll just highlight it, do a Control V to paste, and then after the str data source line right there, I'm going to say dt dot clear, open close parentheses. Okay, so let's see how that handles everything for me. I'm going to go back here and open up my database very quickly and just delete broccoli. Oops, too far. There it is, just so I can see it later on. So I'll delete that record and then close my database and minimize that, and let's run this one more time and see if, and no, we don't want to do that yet because, close that, I made one other mistake. Before the reset form, now this is on the save button, before reset form, I want to come in here and call reload reload database. There it is, open close parentheses, and then reset the form. Now everything should be ready, so we run that one, and we'll go to the last. Okay, Hamilton Burger, click on, and let's go back a little bit here, click on add. Once again, we're at 1028. Come down here and say Barack Lee, click on save. Okay, if I go last, there he is there. Let's go to first, and now as I scroll through each one of these, once I get to 10, 25, 26, 27, and there's 28. So now my database is only in there one time each of the records. Okay, so that's how we can insert a new record into the database. As always, thank you for watching.